Hello, and welcome to another exciting training video for the CDPHE Public Health Data Lakehouse. Today we're going to look at how to create a data mart, which is sort of like a static table that you custom build for your own needs. So we'll get a little more into it in a minute here. First off, of course, we are logged into our virtual desktop environment, VDI. You can see the double toolbars here, and you can see that my whole browser window is open inside of a tab. I'm going to go ahead and expand this, though, so it's a little bit more easy to manage. And as always, again, everything that we do in the Google Cloud Console requires us to open Google Chrome. So we just click on that one. Verify that you open not your CDPHE or your LPHA or any other kind of account, but your core account. And you can double check it up here by looking. It'll say CDPHE core.cloud. Now you'll want to navigate to the Cloud Console. So that's just console.cloud.google.com. And the work we're going to do today is in a specific tool within the Google Cloud Console called BigQuery. So you can type in BigQuery and pull it up. And you can bookmark either the console as a whole or these different tools, whatever's handy for you. You don't really have to go through all these searches each time. Okay, so let's just talk for a real minute about what are the InfoMarts and how does it all work. So here you can see a set of different data sets. We have the business vault, the raw vault, where the data is really housed. And then we have these different things called InfoMarts, which are one for each team. You might see slightly different names. It might say like CDB instead of EpiTracks, for example. But that's more or less where those teams are able to create their own specific tables and views that are most useful for them. So the data itself is in the business vault, but you can build what's called a view on that data to pull a custom data set for whatever need you have. A view is essentially a table based on a query so that it always has live data whenever you open it. And then because it's already pre-formatted, you can run queries against the view instead of having to like run your query and then run a subquery or something like that. It sort of saves your work for you. Let's take a look a little about how that works. So I'm just going to go into the business vault where the most up-to-date data is contained. I will expand it. I'm just going to choose one table. We're going to do a simple example today. I'm just going to look at the profile data. We'll just run a query in a new tab here. Let's select only certain fields because we want to make sure we get the right things. So let's select race, first name, last name, and birth date. And so this is, let's pretend, for our example, the CDC wants a very specific data extract from our lakehouse, and they just want these data fields, but they only want them for people who, let's say, have the letter K in their name. So you can do this where first name is like, then you do these characters. Let's take the limit out so that we don't just get 1,000. Okay. You can see that the query results are limited because I don't have access to all the data everywhere. This is only going to pull access rate based on my permissions. Just dismiss that node. And down here, you can see a bunch of people who happen to have the letter K in capital K in their name. So really very useful data set. Obviously, yours will probably be more valuable. You might want to pull all the people who have COVID results in the last 2 weeks, for example, or maybe you want to pull a set of people who have not completed their set of immunizations yet. All that would be a little more complex than this. Of course, we're happy to help you write any queries. Please just send us an email and we will get together with you and work through it with you. But I just wanted to make this for our example. So now that I've run it, I can kind of run it a few times, make sure it's the kind of thing I want to see. And now in order to save this, I can just press save. So I can save it as a query, but that mostly just saves it for me to reference in the future. what I want to do for our purposes is, in this case, we've designed something that is going to be used repeatedly, that people want to be able to refer back to and even run subqueries against. Like I pulled all the people with the letter K in their name, but now I want to get the people who with letter K that were born after 2000. Now, of course, I could just add that to this query, but maybe there's a lot of those subqueries people need to run. So we need a letter K data set, and then everyone else can do whatever they want with it. So then we just save it, and now we're going to save it as a view. Now, we want to choose the right project. The project is sort of the highest level of organizational structure for you. It'll probably say something like CDPHU Lakehouse Production, and when you're in the live environment. And then you want to choose a data set. And this is where it's important that you're careful. You don't want to put it in the business vault. That's where the main data sits. This is something you custom built for you and your team to work on. So you'll want to make sure you save it in the right spot. Let's just save it in SYS. We're going to imagine I'm an immunization team worker today. Then let's give it an informative name, because there could be many of these, and maybe there are like sub-teams within your group that are working in this InfoMart. You want to make sure that it's clear what you're doing, and people who are maybe not part of your team know and are able to read easily what's available there. So I'm going to just call this letter K data set. So we'll save it. Awesome. Okay, so now down here, you can see that the InfoMart for SYS, where I created this, now has a view. This is the view symbol, where that is. So I can click on that, and you can get some details. You can see the tables. Columns are exactly the columns I specified in my query. And then you can get details here, sort of like when was it created and so on. And you can see the query used to run it. So if you're feeling like, this view doesn't have the data I need, well, check the query and see if it may be being filtered out for some reason. You can, like I was saying before, run queries against this view. So if I select all from this view, you'll notice it has exactly the same thing as when I just ran that query, because the view just is the query, but set up and sort of made static like a table. And now I could run a subquery like where first name, and then let's put in the letter L as well. It is case sensitive. You can see it only shows this person, but I got the Black Panther. That's a really cool person again. Okay, cool. So that's kind of how this works. Again, what is the use case? It's for static data sets you often want to use in reporting. So for example, maybe you need a CDC extract. Well, you can just write it as a query here, where you rename the columns, make it all nice and pretty and beautifully formatted, save it as a view, and whenever you open this view, you're going to get a live up-to-date data set containing all the fields, all the data in the lakehouse that met those query criteria. You want to send it to the CDC, you can just go to your view and press export, explore with sheets, give it 2 breaths, and voila, you have a spreadsheet that includes all the data in that view, and you can just hand it off. Sorry for these little notices, but you can see this is my letter K data set, and not that many Ks, I guess, but I can just kind of download this as a CSV and hand it off to whoever needs it. Cool. So that's kind of views and how to make them in the Lakehouse and what they're useful for. Hope it's been informative. Let us know if you need anything else. Thanks.